Welcome to the Why
Oh,
Dad
God.
podcast. We are your hosts, Paul Stolpelstead and Andrew Wandry. Paul Wandry and Andrew Stolpelstead. And we are on a mission to figure out what it means to be a man, husband, a father, how to be the best one possible, and why all that even matters. And it's just the two of us today. You're stuck with
It is.
me and Stolpy. So what's
I'm
good,
gonna start
Andrew?
calling you Paul Arlt. Paul Arlt.
Why?
Because it's like, you can make it like really Paul Arlt. See, at least with Sarah's, Sarah Arlt. But
Yeah.
since you have
So
the
for our listeners, my wife's maiden name is Arlt, and it's hard for some people to pronounce so many consonants together.
Mm-hmm. And when you put
So-
Paul before it, it gets
Palarlt. It's just
Paul
Palarlt.
Arlt.
Palarlt. Anyway, well, that's not my name. And all right, man. So
Did you ever
we're not going
consider that though?
No, I never considered that. Actually, it's funny. We never talked about. Did we talk about? I don't think we ever talked about me taking her name or hyphenating names or anything. It was always just traditional.
Mm-hmm. There's a girl I dated that had a really long last name. And I was like, one of the conditions on if this goes serious is you're going to have to hyphenate.
Yeah. Well, if we had hyphenated, we would have done her name first, and then we would have been. Then our last name initials would have been A and W.
Ooh.
Nice little root beer reference for you.
Jameson will be happy about that.
But yeah, she. It's sad. She always enjoyed being like some of the first ones listed off, but when you go by last
Now
name
she's
alphabetically.
at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, Sarah.
I remember, was it ice cream? Or it was probably a bunch of stuff, but especially the ice cream trips in high school.
Oh, yeah.
They would go alphabetically, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or would they alternate? Would they go A to Z?
No,
and
they
then
would
Z
go
to A?
alphabetically.
Yeah, so I was always last. And all the good ice cream was gone.
Well, you and Peter.
Yeah, and Wheeler.
Yeah,
And
that's it.
anyway, fun stuff. So what's our topic du jour, Andrew?
Well,
I'll have that.
it's
The topic of the day. I'll have that. You get that Dumb and Dumber reference?
how does picking your partner's last name influence your legacy?
Well, for one, if you're at the end of the book alphabetically, people won't read about you. So you won't have a legacy to speak of.
No, in all honesty, today we're going to be talking about how does picking a partner influence your legacy? Yeah.
Yeah.
How does it, Paul? You're the one that picked a partner.
Yeah. Let's talk about it from my perspective, and then let's talk about it from your perspective. Like how much is that a consideration, for you at this point? Because when I think about that, I mean, so there's two aspects. Like, one, the partner you pick will influence your legacy one way or another, right? But two, like, that wasn't even a concept for me when I was dating. I mean, honestly, I was like, oh, a girl likes me. Woo! I had a low bar. No, just kidding.
And she's pretty too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really lucked out with Sarah. Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about legacy. I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because, so our listeners may not know, but pardon my French, fucked it up when I was first dating Sarah. We were dating, everything was going great, and things were moving kind of fast. I was young, dumb, and immature, and I got effing scared. And what does a scared little boy do? He runs away. So I was like, hey, Sarah, I can't do this. I can't tell you why. I just can't, So that started what ended up being, I don't know, almost a year-long hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, I did some soul searching, and I was like, damn, those times with Sarah actually were really good. Like, we were happy together, and we complimented each other.
Right.
And like, what more is there to want? We had a lot of aligned values and interests, and like, I threw away a good thing. And I bring that up because when I realized the mistake I made, I was like, oh, well, I burned that ship,
Mm-hmm.
But then as time went on, like, I started considering, like, what if she does take me back? What if she does give me a second chance? And I said to myself, the only way I'm going to do that because it's not fair to her or myself, but especially not to her, is if like I'm in it for the long haul.
Right.
So I guess to that extent, I thought about legacy, not that I knew what that meant, but just that basically when I called her up to say, "Hey, can we talk?" Meaning like I want to like come and grovel before you and like acknowledge how much I fucked it up and all that.
Mhm.
Beg you to take me back. When I called her back, I was basically, in my mind, I was proposing to her. I didn't say that out loud because I'm not that dumb. I'm dumb, but not that dumb. But I was committed,
Right.
And so that isn't so much like legacy as in beyond my lifetime, but definitely like legacy of present day lifetime. Like, could I see myself living out the rest of my days with her? And the
Right.
answer is yes, And not only was it like, could I just see myself doing it? It was like, this is happening. I'm willing, like, I'm not going to be the one to jump ship if
Right.
it were to happen, Like, I'm in it for the long haul. My dad would tell me growing up that love is a choice. Love
Mhm.
isn't just a feeling. It's not just an emotion. It's a choice. And we're just we're going to be dropping an episode with Larry Hagner shortly,
Mhm.
and he talks about how parenting and frankly spousing, being a spouse, is about developing skills. It
Yeah.
doesn't just come naturally. And so I'm kind of rambling, but I think that all of that is to say that you can't build a legacy if you're not. Did you hear heavy?
Yeah.
Like Larry said, this is a dad show, so you're going
Exactly.
to hear dad shit, or uncle shit.
Mhm. You probably hear the kids are having dinner right now, so you can probably hear them.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're not willing to go, if you aren't truly committed to that person for the long haul, then there is no legacy, right? So you have to pick somebody that you're willing to do that with.
Yeah. How has that idea of legacy formed and changed from getting back together with Sarah to now parents to Evie and Liam? And what is the future like you said, you didn't have that you weren't thinking about legacy, but you were thinking about, committing.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
that you've made those commitments, like what is Paul's legacy in now look like that Sarah is your wife?
Yeah. So let me I know this isn't, I'm going to kind of flip the script of this episode's topic on its head. And I'm going to say, like, for me, legacy isn't so much about like my personal legacy. Like, when I don't care if, and I hope actually generations down the line of Wandries that, like, I don't care if they're talking about great, great, great grandpa Paul, But what I do want the legacy to be doesn't have to be titled or owned, but I want it to be a legacy of love, of connection, of peace and fulfillment, of growing.
Mhm.
I want it to be, so Sarah and I picked 3 words that kind of sum up what we see our family about,
Mhm.
is about, and that's learn, grow, and love. We want to always be learning because we recognize that we don't have the full picture. We don't know everything we need to know. We want to always be growing because same deal. We're not perfect. We can always be improving. And then do all of that with love. So if generations down the road, R2, Wandry, or whatever they're naming kids then, if they're learning, growing, and loving, if they're learning, growing, and loving, then I would consider that a successful legacy. So all that to say is like, that's what I mean when I say legacy. How does Sarah play into that? If you want something to grow, you need fertile ground, right? And I think that's the role of husband and wife, mom and dad, is to provide that fertile ground, that protected and nurtured soil for that legacy to grow. If there is, and I'm kind of feeding off of what we talked about with Larry,
I was gonna say,
but if
this is
there's,
stuff you should have brought up in that conversation because it only added to his point.
yeah, if there is turmoil between me and Sarah, if there's unsteadiness, if there's division, derision, whatever, then that's going to make it a challenging environment for our kids and then future generations to grow up in. So I think it comes down to our relationship together, right?
Yeah.
And to that point, if you find yourself a partner who is not willing to learn and grow with you, who isn't willing to do the work to overcome inevitable challenges, then you are not necessarily setting yourself up for failure, but you're going to be doing it solo. And you're going to also possibly be doing it while working, quote unquote, against your spouse, right? Who could be your
Mhm.
greatest advocate and your greatest team player. And I know from firsthand experience what we've been through that Sarah is one who is willing to put in the work, who wants to be better, and that she proved that when we lost Isla because I mean that threw us, through the grinder. And Sarah was, as she puts it, a broken woman after that. She was a different
Mhm.
she was no longer the same person, and she has clawed herself out of the darkness and made herself anew, and it's that resilience and that determination and that willingness to put in the work, because she loves her family,
Yep.
that I know, that I've got a partner who will help that idea of legacy come to fruition. Yeah. So what about you, Andrew? What are you thinking about? Are you thinking about legacy when it comes to prospecting your potential mates?
Almost as much as I think about the Roman Republic every day, which some people won't believe me when I do say I think about the Roman Empire, well, Republic, more than once a day.
What does that say about me if I don't do that?
Well, I did it to myself, so I named my dog after a Roman senator, so.
Uh, touche, touche.
Right, bud? Go away. Go upstairs.
So how is that influencing who you're looking for, like what you're looking for in a woman?
I don't so here's the thing, like, I maybe this is, like, where you and I have differed in our 20 some plus years of knowing each other and being as close as friends and brothers as we are, but, like, I've always kinda had, like, that, like, what do I wanna leave behind? What do I wanna be known like, again, not
Mm,
necessarily, like you said, known for, but, like, what's that thing, that good thing that's gonna happen that I'm gonna be responsible for, on the micro and macro level? Um and so, as life's gone on, I've kind of molded like my idealistic, maybe that's not a great phrase for it, but like my lofty goals and ideals of to shape who I am now and
mhm.
who I want to continue to be and who I want to grow into be. Taking off of what we were talking about with Larry the other, earlier, kind of makes it hard to like every now and then I'm always like, oh, do I have too high standards? And that's why I'm at where I'm at. Or,
Yeah.
thing is, it's just, I know what I want and it's hard to find that as well. Um, so I'm looking, I guess, like, in short, it comes down to, in no way do I like mean to like copy you, but like, obviously, the first one is like, I want to have a legacy of love. What that's going to look like is what, you know, my future relationship will foster into. But I've had so many tremendous examples in my life of what that means. And like, to build off of, and just like we were talking with Larry, he wants his kids to see the relationship between he and his wife and in a certain light.
Mhm,
That's what I want to be able to teach my children. This is how a man loves.
mhm.
This is what true manly love looks like.
Yeah.
And teach through that example so that way they can continue to pass that on, improve upon it, because Lord knows I am not the perfect man for that example, but I'm gonna strive to do what I gotta do, and I've had great examples in my life on that. Like, that's what I mean, like a legacy of love where it's just constantly growing and improving. And, like, selfishly, like, I made the world a better place because I taught a kid or two one the right thing, but then, over the generations, as long as that one value specifically can be retained and improved and grown, then that's a success that I may not see while I'm alive, but
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it makes the world a better place. It improves everybody's lives. So, what what is like one or two things that you expect of your future partner that will help you foster or initiate that legacy of love?
Someone that just loves with them whole selves, you know? There's no holding back, that through thick and thin, good and bad, fights and sunshines, that
Hmm.
it's an unconditional, complete love, I guess.
Yeah, that's good. What does that look like?
I don't know. I haven't
Hmm.
found it yet.
You'll know it when you find it. Now,
It's the
a thought that
million
came to
dollar
my mind.
question.
Yeah, it really is. A thought that came to my mind is how we're going to incorporate that into our speed dating round, our Why Dad Bachelor episode we'll run with
I'll
Andrew as
schedule
the bachelor.
vacation that day.
And well, that's okay. We'll have AI Andrew present. And so we'll have to figure out how to test for that unconditional love. Put a puppy on a paddleless boat out in the middle of the lake and see if they go save it or something. Anyway, but no, the thought that came to mind was
Brain goes weird places.
it does. It does. I mean, our listeners should know that by now. If not, here's the real me to surprise it. No, the thought that came to my mind was so you alluded to how it's been challenging to find your partner in part because of the high standards that you hold for them based off of like the incredible examples from your mom and your aunts
Mhm.
and you know, other women in your lives.
You can throw Sarah in there too.
Yeah, 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 Sarah. Uh-huh. Represent, represent. But here's a challenge, and maybe this is completely off mark, but is it possible that you're, or how do I phrase this? Perhaps sometimes we can be tempted to look for like the finished product, right? You know, like
Well, that's why I said I don't know what it looks like, and you don't know till you start, like,
no,
getting to know
but
each other, and
it's like, you know, like let's say I'm a farmer, you know, not to you know, degrade partners and future partners to a plot of land. But, you know, let's say I'm a farmer and I'm going to go and I'm prospecting for a good plot of land. I was like, I'm not necessarily looking for like the full grown crop per
right,
se, but I need to see that the ground is fertile, right? And this is a bad analogy too, because like as the man, as a husband, you also need to be a fertile plot of land. Man, this episode is just going off the rails. So a fertile plot of
Paul,
land walks into the bar, and anyway,
are you trying to tell, like, our communities, are you having another kid?
no, no,
You
no,
just had
no, we're not. We're,
fertility on your mind.
because that's how things grow. Okay,
I know.
no, hopefully we'll get another one of these days.
I'm just teasing, yeah.
No. Okay, but the point being that's like, okay, what's more important? What's more important? Having like the perfect woman, right? In this scenario, or like if you're a woman, if you're looking for a man, right? Like the perfect man. Or like rough material. Rough and
You're the one
I'm just
doing this to yourself.
flailing. Okay.
I wouldn't
But
I
like
didn't laugh till you chuckled.
yeah. But where there's A, ton of potential, and B, the core skills necessary to become that perfect woman, right? And that would be, in my mind, a growth mindset, you know, like in a humble mindset. Like I don't have it all figured out, but I know that I can improve and I know that I can get better. Couple that with, you know, your focus on love, like a loving individual. And then like, okay, even if she is rough around the edges, right? But like if she has that drive, that determination, that willingness to learn and improve, then perhaps those um quote unquote imperfections are what's the word? Negligible.
Mhm.
So you don't have to answer, but that's just a little
No,
challenge
and I've already
to
answered
throw at
some of
you.
it. That's the whole point of getting to know somebody, you know? Like, is this
Yeah.
gonna work out? Do you have interest? Do you have your core values, beliefs, tenets, whatever, that, you know, enough of them align. Not saying
Yeah.
everyone has to align, but that gives, like, some type of connection there. Like, you mentioned that was one of the big things between you and Sarah and why, because there was that commonality there. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not going into this perfect either, and I acknowledge that. And, like, kinda talking about this topic, I'm just thinking about it now, kinda makes it sound, like, completely one-sided, and it's not.
No, not at all.
Because at the same time, she's looking for, like, how that partner influences her legacy, so it's finding out which one, that's why I said get to know each other to see how those legacies meld together.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, like, maybe there's some traits, not necessarily physical ones, but like traits, habits, virtues, whatever you want to call them, that add or are important to see as well.
Yeah. But, yeah, and I think that's all very true. And I think your point about core values and having alignment, like, that's one I think we've kind of mentioned it a couple times so far this episode, but I think we need to hit that one home because if you don't have alignment with your spouse or future spouse,
Hmm.
then, like, that is crucial to find alignment in order to implement your legacy, the legacy that you hope to,
Right.
because otherwise, like, you're going to be working against each other, right? They're going to
Hmm.
be trying to initiate their legacy, and you're going to be working on yours, and you're going to be working against each other.
Right. Well, and that's when you were talking about the growth aspect. It's like, are we going to grow together or is one going to choke the other out? Maybe fits, maybe
Mm,
you'll drive them mad and they will actually choke you out. But, like how, are you actually going to help each other grow and become better people, become the best married couple that you can be?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, be truly invested in each other's well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're truly a team. It's not like I'm doing my thing, you're doing your thing and we're not getting in each other's way. It's like, no, like, we're doing this together and I want to see you, like, your success is my success and vice versa.
Right.
Yeah. Is that something that you think comes naturally or has to be acquired intentionally?
I don't know. How did you and Sarah do it?
Yeah, as I was asking the question, I was thinking about it from our perspective.
There is like I think there has to be like some sort of naturality to it to get going, but a lot of it is intentionality.
I would agree. I'd agree. I think it's, if you, let's say your marriage is a boat and you get in the boat.
Continue.
You don't like my analogies.
So out of pocket almost.
You're in a
You sat there like, what's a good one?
The analogy doesn't matter. It's the point that I'm trying to make.
I know, but the way you kind of never mind. Just continue.
So it's like I'm bad pun Paul and I have cable. It's like, hi, I'm bad analogy Paul and I have cable.
Have you been talking to Austin lately? Trying
No,
to
I
come up with
haven't.
like outlandish analogies?
No, I was just trying not to use the same plot of land or garden or fertile ground analogy. No, let's
Okay, boat.
say boat. I'm on a
Boats.
boat. I'm on a boat. You're on a boat with your wife, and you don't. You're just sitting there. You're not
Mhm.
setting sail. You're not controlling the rudder. You're not paddling. Like, you're just gonna drift. And I think it's the same with that learning to grow together and support each other and
Mhm.
develop that teamwork is like if you don't set the sail, if you don't take the helm, if you don't paddle the boat where you want to go, then it's not gonna happen. You're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs, hoping
Mhm.
that like the current takes you where you want to go. Right.
Right.
So no, you have to be intentional about that. Um and so, yeah, so far we've talked about alignment of core values, you know, being willing, like not being satisfied with the status quo, being willing to grow individually and as a team, and then, yeah, just being totally in it to win it as a team, right?
Mhm. No, I think, bringing this back to how does picking partner influence your legacy? It does come down a lot to the growth, the challenge,
Mm,
shaping each other into better people because you're a team at that point, and so you had to have a common goal, be it raising good kids or making lots of money as dinks, whatever it is.
yeah. Yeah, I think that word challenge is crucial. That's not one I had really thought about, but like, yeah, if you don't have somebody who's willing to call you out on your shit or to push you to be a better person,
Mhm.
then progress is going to be so much more latent.
Right.
You know, on the flip side, if you have somebody who's, you know, putting you under the fire,
Mhm.
like to build muscle, you know, you gotta break down the muscle. You gotta tear that tissue. And
You
so
gotta
if your
sweat.
wife isn't tearing your tissue, then you're fucked.
What are you doing?
I don't know. I'm waiting for you to say something groundbreaking
I
and
thought you were
rev-
going off on a Paulism.
since the first half of the episode, I turned a new leaf and I'm only saying the bare minimum. I will consider wisely all things that need to be said and I will summarize it.
That's my job. You're supposed to do Paulisms.
True. What would happen to us if I started distilling things? What would you have to distill?
Vodka. All right. So throughout the last you guys are going on 6, 7 years? 6, 7.
Don't start that again. Yet, March will be 7.
7 already. All right. So in the last 7 years, what are besides starting the podcast and having Sarah watch the kids while we do this? No, and I'm going to be serious now. Like what are things that you have found yourself having to help you build up? Okay, so those habits, virtues as I like to call them, building as your partner is now helping to influence your legacy.
So, what habits have I had to develop
Yeah.
to complement
Mhm.
working with Sarah to develop that legacy?
Yeah,
Did I understand that correctly?
basically.
Hmm. Well, the list of habits that I need to develop are endless. The
What's
list of
one
habits that
thing
I
that's, like in the last 7 years, 6 years?
oh, no, I've got my answer.
Yeah,
I was just being a shit.
I know
Uh,
you were.
un I know, that's not typical of me. I won't do it again. Just kidding, I will. So, it's a work in progress, but communication.
Mhm.
And that has so many facets,
It's a
like what
biggie.
is good communication.
Mhm.
A lot of it is not assuming, not taking things personally, because usually it's not personal. It's just, if I think it's personal, it's actually just something that they are struggling, like Sarah is struggling through personally, or vice versa. And communicating, like, we talked about alignment,
Right.
so as to make sure we are aligned and we're staying aligned. Because, I mean, you could have great conversations before you're married or in early marriage about what you want with life, what you want out of your marriage, and what you want for your future kids. But as life continues, as your family grows, those answers may not be applicable anymore. Or they at the very least need to be tweaked and refined. And also, if you're not
Right.
talking about it, you're forgetting about it.
Oh.
That is something that we've been discovering. Our marriage, our plans for our marriage, for our family is a work of constant refinement. And that comes
Gotcha.
down to communication. If we're not talking regularly,
Mhm.
it's kind of like going back to a boat analogy. So have you seen the show Shogun or read
Yeah,
the book? So
both.
the pilot is like Blackthorn or something like that. What's his name? Black Blackthorn. I think it's Blackthorn. Smart dude, right? But what is he doing? He when he's on the boat, he's constantly referring to his pilot logs and to the logs of previous pilots so
Right.
that he knows where to go and what to expect and all of that. And one of his prized possessions that he, I think, spent a fair amount of the first volume trying to get back is a questionably acquired Portuguese pilot's log that he
Right.
used to take their ship through a path that English ships had never taken before.
Right.
And without that, and without constantly referring to his logs and referring to the stars and all that, he would get lost.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of that way with our marriage is if we're not constantly going back to the drawing board, going back to our logs and making sure we're staying on course, then we're going to get lost. And oftentimes we do get lost and then we have to get back on course and it's all just part of the process. So, to wrap up my Paulism communication, learning how to communicate effectively as a couple is massive.
I like that though. I think that's important.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is if you're not communicating, if you're not talking, and this is kind of like it's more than just communication, right? But you're like you and me, if we were to go like weeks or months without talking, right?
Let's say one. Let's start little.
Yeah. I mean, we could say we would pick up where we left off, right?
Mm.
And that's probably true to an extent, but we wouldn't be as close as we are speaking and working together as closely and as frequently as we do.
Right.
It's the same thing with your wife, your spouse. Like if you're not talking and you're not like planning and staying incommunicado,
Mm-hmm.
you're drifting apart.
Right.
And I say that, not to insinuate that we have the perfect relationship and that we have it all figured out because we don't. It's a work in process, like
But
we
you
have
both are working towards,
yeah. We have a scheduled weekly meeting where we're supposed to talk about, upcoming events and like any challenges either personally or with our family, um, etc. Like
Mm-hmm.
are we staying on track with our vision? And I mean, this is just transparency. Like I think the last time we met it's definitely before Thanksgiving. It was probably like October.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and we need to get back to that. And we
Right.
feel it when it's not like we're not talking at all, right? But that really helps us stay on track. And it helps
Yeah.
us talk about more of the bigger picture things and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. And it doesn't have to be a weekly meeting, right? Each family, each couple is going to figure out what works for them. But that's something
Exactly.
that does work for us and that we need to get back
Right.
on the program. So just to be transparent there.
I like it though.
So, but yeah, this is some good shit. I'm curious what our listeners and so Mr. Dad listening to the show, like what you think, like what you consider to be a essential characteristic or piece or consideration when considering your spouse in regards to your legacy.
We started it off with how does picking a partner influence your legacy, and we got into the what, but I think that's an important route to go. The what and the who.
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is the same question. Though it's just a different.
Essentially, yeah.
It's like
Well, no, that's why I asked you first, because then you turned it to something more of a realistic question and answer through that.
yeah. I suppose as how the original question was is it's like we could have pulled that thread and be like, okay, it can affect it well
Right.
or it can affect it negatively, positively or negatively, and
And
we're
that's
like,
the
okay,
answer.
how do we ensure a positive
Mm.
influence?
Right. So, after all of that, what do you have to suggest for our listeners to take away or work on to influence their legacy through and with their partner? Only you can answer this.
Yeah, this is something that we've talked about before, Andrew, and it came up earlier. But in order to get where you're going, you need to know where you're going, right? You need to know your destination. All the more true for working with your spouse. In order, like, it's not enough for you to know where you're going. You and your spouse need to know where you're going, and you need to be in alignment on that. So I think
Right.
it comes down to that. You need to, if you and your wife, if you and your spouse don't already have that figured out, or, Andrew, it sounds like you're already doing this, but like as you navigate the dating world, if you're not figuring out like what these women want with their lives and does it align with what you want.
Right.
So I worded that poorly, but as far as it comes down to what a dad or an aspiring dad can do, it's go and have that conversation with your wife if you haven't already
Right.
and talk about like, hey, these are my ideals for our family and for our relationship and make that concrete, like what does your family look like? 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
Mhm.
Like, what does your relationship look like when you're 80?
Yeah.
Talk about that stuff and then boil it down to come to an agreement and then boil it down to practical things that you're doing as a couple now. And then, it's been a minute since I've been in the dating world, but if I were to do that again, I would be talking about the same things, like,
Right.
yeah, talk about the future. What do you want? There's like so much to dream, so much to do. So it's fun. So that's what I would say.
It's a good answer.
Yeah. What about you? From the dating world perspective, what do you have to share with other
I think it's the same answer, Paul, just from a different starting point.
yeah,
Honestly, where do
yeah.
you what do you see? But you're still looking down the road. Like you said, where do you see your relationship at 80?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think those are yeah, you can basically ask the same questions, like when I asked Sarah, I was like, "Hey, like, how do you see us
Uh-huh.
when we're 80? Like, what are we doing when we wake up in the morning or whatever?" You could still be asking the question of your dating partner, right? Just like instead of like, "How do you see us?"
Right.
Because they that might be a little too forward, but it was like, how do you see like what does you and your partner like waking up this morning when you're 80, like, what does that look
Mm-hmm.
like? Paint a
Yeah.
scene. Well, this was an interesting conversation, Andrew. Thank you.
Yeah. You got me thinking.
Ditto. So, anyway, I think we covered some good stuff. The core values, alignment,
Communication.
team communication, growing and supporting each other, challenging each other. You want to take us home?
Don't you have your outro that you have to say?
What's my outro?
I don't know. I thought you had an outro.
Peace out.
No. Land the plane,
Uh,
Paul.
Beach the boat.
Till the soil.
All right. Well, thank you, Dad and aspiring dad, for tuning into our show.
Yes.
And putting up with our ramblings, my ramblings, and my rocky analogies.
They were very raw and rough
But at least they were fertile.
and floating.
Anyway, hopefully, so we don't pretend to have the answers, but hopefully
Absolutely
this
not.
gets your little brain juices percolating a little. And, whether you're an aspiring dad or a current dad, let us know, like, what you're doing to find that alignment with your future spouse or your current spouse, or like what other considerations you have as far as pursuing that legacy with your significant other.
Yes.
And let us know. And as always, like and subscribe, and please leave us reviews. That's how we know how our show is doing. And until next time. Oh, wait, should we share the news about next year? Wait, because by the
It's
time this
gonna be
drops, it's
next
going to be
year.
next year. But should we share the news?
So you already heard the news by now, but we're recording this. It is December 18th, 2025.
Yeah.
Just tell them, yeah.
Well, let's see. When this one is dropping, when is this one dropping?
It's gonna be in January.
You're right.
So you might as well. They will have noticed, but they don't
Okay,
know.
so this will be the first episode of January. So
there we go.
this will be perfect to share the news. We are switching from bi-weekly episodes to weekly episodes. So now you don't have to wait 2 weeks until the next episode to drop. So exciting news.
Yeah,
You
you
get to hear
all
more
asked
of
for
us.
more, and you asked for more bad puns and analogies from Paul, and you're gonna get them.
Yep. So gather your Q-tips so you can clean out that gunk from your ears.
Where are you going with this?
I was trying to. Never mind. All right. Goodbye, guys.
All right.
See you next week.
It's next
Love you
year.
long time. All right.
All right. Thank
Thanks,
you
Andrew.
all, and thank you, Paul.
All right. Toodles.
Toodles poodles.